AITA for yelling at my parents? My name is Darren. I'm 16, and I live with my parents and my little brother, Adam, who's 10. From the outside, people probably think my family is fine. My dad has a steady job, and my mom always posts online about her perfect home. But inside our house, things are very different. We almost never have food in the kitchen. Not normal groceries. Anyway, no bread, no milk, no fruit. Just random things my parents pick up for themselves, like wine or snacks they hide in their bedroom. Most nights, my parents go out to eat or order takeout just for them, and me and Adam end up waiting until school lunch the next day to really eat. I don't have much money. My parents say I have to learn responsibility by working for them without pay, doing yard work, washing cars, running errands. So the only money I have is from Christmas or birthdays. A few weeks ago, I decided to use what little I had left to buy actual groceries: cereal, bread, peanut butter, apples, and frozen pancakes. It wasn't much, but it felt like gold to me. I even bought a tiny secondhand mini fridge with my savings and put it in my room. I labeled everything so Adam and I would have food when we needed it. For 2 days, it worked. I made Adam breakfast, and he was so happy just to eat something normal. I felt like an older brother should, like I was actually taking care of him. But when I went to make him breakfast again, everything was gone. The fridge was empty except for the wrappers. My parents had taken all of it. When I saw that, my stomach sank in a way that's hard to explain. I just stood there staring at the empty fridge, feeling both angry and helpless. Adam walked in behind me, rubbing his eyes, and asked if I could make him the pancakes again. I couldn't answer right away. I just moved aside and let him see for himself. He didn't say anything, but I noticed how his shoulders dropped. It wasn't the disappointment of a kid not getting a treat. It was heavier, like he already knew not to expect good things to last. That night, when my parents came home, I confronted them. At first, I wanted to stay calm. I really did. But the more I spoke, the louder my voice became. I told them they never feed us, that Adam and I are always left hungry while they spend money on things that don't matter. I told them what they were doing had a name: neglect. My mom immediately started crying, saying I didn't appreciate how hard they tried. She said I was cruel for saying those things and that I didn't understand how stressful life was for them. My dad, though, looked furious. He shouted back that I had no right to talk to them like that, especially under their roof. I thought that would be the end of it, but it wasn't. The more I spoke, the angrier my dad became. He kept pointing his finger at me, saying things like, "You think you know better than me? You think you can run this house? You don't even pay bills." Every word he threw at me made me feel smaller, but also angrier. I wanted to yell louder, but Adam came out of his room while this was happening, and I saw the way he pressed himself against the wall, like he wanted to disappear. That was the moment I realized I couldn't let him stay in that house for another night. I ended up grabbing my phone, calling my friend Nathan, and asking if we could come over. His family didn't even hesitate. They told us to come right away. I packed a backpack for Adam with some clothes and a few things I thought he'd want, like his sketchbook and the stuffed bear he's had since he was little. I didn't bring much for myself. It wasn't about me. I just wanted to make sure Adam would be okay. Before we left, my mom followed me to the door. Her face was red from crying, but her voice was sharp. "If you walk out that door, Darren, don't think you can just walk back in. Don't make me choose between my son and my husband." Those words stung. She said my husband before my son. She said it like her priority was already made. I didn't answer. I just opened the door, took Adam's hand, and walked out. That night, we left. I told Adam it was just a sleepover so he wouldn't panic, but I think deep down he knew. On the way there, he kept asking if it was okay that we were leaving without telling our parents. I just told him we'd be safe and that Nathan's parents would take care of us for a little while. When we arrived, Nathan's mom immediately set food in front of Adam. It wasn't anything fancy, just spaghetti and salad, but he dug in like it was the best meal he'd ever had. Watching him eat like that, fast, like he was afraid it would be taken away, I felt both relief and sadness. Relief that he finally had what he needed, and sadness that he'd learned to eat that way in the first place. That night, when Adam went to sleep on an air mattress in Nathan's room, I stayed awake on the couch. Nathan's dad sat with me for a while. He didn't ask for details, just said, "You did the right thing bringing your brother here." His voice was calm, but firm, like he meant it. I wanted to believe him, but in the back of my head, I kept replaying my mom's words. "Don't make me choose between my son and my husband." And the more I thought about it, the more it hurt. The next morning, my phone was full of missed calls and texts. Some were from my mom, saying things like, "Please come home." I didn't mean what I said. Others were from my dad, telling me I was a disgrace and that I needed to stop playing the victim. One text even said, "If you think you can run off with my kid, you've got another thing coming." I showed the texts to Nathan's mom, and she looked worried. She told me not to answer and said Adam and I could stay as as long as we needed. Later that day, my mom called again. This time, I picked up. Her voice was shaky. Darren, please, you're making things worse. Your father is furious. He says you embarrassed him. Just come home and we'll talk. I asked her, will there be food for Adam? There was a long pause on the line. Then she said, we'll see what we can do. That was my answer. I hung up. That night, Adam crawled onto the couch where I was sitting and leaned against me. He didn't say much, but after a while, he whispered, I don't want to go back, Darren. His voice was so soft, I almost didn't hear it. And that's when I knew. I didn't regret yelling at my parents. Not one bit. Because in that moment, Adam wasn't hungry. He wasn't scared. He was just a 10-year-old kid who felt safe leaning on his brother. And that was worth everything.
Update.
It's been a week since Adam and I stayed at Nathan's house, and I thought things would start calming down. I was wrong. Things have gotten even more complicated than I ever imagined. At first, the calls from my parents came nonstop. Every few hours, my phone would light up, and I knew exactly who it was before I even looked. My dad's voice filled the voicemail box, each message more venomous than the last. He called me selfish, ungrateful, and a disappointment. He accused me of trying to destroy the family, of brainwashing Adam against him, of stealing my brother like some kind of kidnapper. One of the last voicemails he left wasn't even yelling at first. It was silent. For 30 seconds, nothing, just heavy breathing, almost like he was making sure I was listening. Then, in this low, sharp voice, he said, you think you can do better than me? You think you're the man of the house now? Bring him back, Darren. If you don't bother coming back yourself. I didn't play it for Adam. I couldn't. But the words stuck in my head, running circles around my brain until I couldn't sleep. My mom's approach was different, but in some ways, it hurt worse. She didn't scream or threaten. She guilt-tripped. She filled my inbox with long Facebook messages, paragraphs and paragraphs about forgiveness, about families sticking together, about how much she misses her boys. She said she understood that I was upset, but that I had gone too far. Her messages were laced with this sugary sweetness that didn't feel real. She wrote things like, you'll understand one day when you're a parent. We all make mistakes, but you don't abandon the people who raised you. Don't let strangers and outsiders take away your family. We love you, Darren. We love Adam. Please come home before this gets worse. The worst part? She'd sprinkle in old memories, things she knew would hit me hard, like how she still remembered rocking me to sleep as a baby, or how Adam used to call her mommy when he couldn't sleep. It was emotional manipulation dressed up as love, and I knew it, but that didn't stop the knot in my stomach every time I read her words. I didn't reply, not to my dad, not to my mom, not a single word. Instead, I reached out to my aunt, Laura, my mom's younger sister. She's never been deeply involved in our lives. She lives 3 hours away, and when I was a kid, she only came around a few times a year. But I remembered something about her, how she used to slip me extra snacks when my mom wasn't looking. It wasn't much, but it meant something. It meant she noticed when I was hungry. One night, after reading another wall of text from my mom, I sat down and typed out an email to Aunt Laura. I told her everything. I told her about the empty fridge, about Adam's hunger, about how my parents took the food I bought with my own money. I told her about the yelling, about Adam clinging to me, about how I felt like I was the only one protecting him. She called me the very next morning. Her voice was soft but steady. She didn't rush me, didn't interrupt. She just let me talk. Then she asked if she could speak to Adam, just to hear it from him. Adam was nervous, but he held the phone with both hands like it was something fragile. His voice was small when he said, we didn't have food, Aunt Laura. Darren got us food, and then Mom and Dad took it. I don't want to go back. His voice cracked at the end, but he said it. There was silence on the other end for a moment, and then Aunt Laura sighed. I always worried this was happening, she said quietly. I should have done something sooner. 2 days later, she drove 3 hours to pick us up. Nathan's parents didn't question it. They just smiled sadly and helped us pack our things. Nathan's mom hugged Adam tight and whispered that he was brave. Nathan's dad clapped me on the shoulder and said, you've got people in your corner now. Don't forget that. When we got to Aunt Laura's house, everything felt different. The air wasn't heavy like it was back home. The walls didn't feel like they were closing in. Her house wasn't big or fancy, but it was warm. The first thing she did was take us grocery shopping. She handed Adam the card and let him pick out whatever he wanted. He lit up in a way I hadn't seen in years, grabbing boxes of cereal, bags of oranges, juice, and chicken nuggets. At checkout, he carried the bag of oranges himself, smiling like he had just won a trophy. Something so simple, but it broke my heart that it meant so much. For the first time, I thought maybe things would be okay. But peace doesn't last in my family. Yesterday, Adam's tablet lit up. I hadn't thought to log out of his account, and suddenly my dad's name was flashing on the screen. Before I could grab it, Adam answered. My dad's face filled the screen. His voice wasn't loud this time. It was calm, too calm, which made it worse. He looked straight at Adam and said, you're filling your brother's head with lies, Darren. He belongs here. You think you can replace me? You're wrong. Adam froze. His small hands gripped the tablet like it was burning him. His lips trembled, and then he shoved it into mine. His voice shook when he whispered, Darren, I don't want to go back. His eyes were wide, terrified. I ended the call immediately. My hands were shaking, but I tried to act calm for Adam. I couldn't let him see how rattled I was. Later that night, Aunt Laura sat us down. She didn't sugarcoat it. She said she was willing to take guardianship if it came to that she'd go to court, talk to whoever she had to, and fight for us. But she also warned me it wouldn't be easy. My parents would fight it. They'd argue, they'd threaten, and it could drag on for months, maybe longer. She looked me in the eyes and said, I'm not going to let Adam go back to being hungry. But Darren, you need to be ready for a battle, because your parents won't give up without one. That same night, another message came through. This time it was from my mom. Not paragraphs, not guilt trips, just one short sentence. You've ruined this family. I hope you're happy. I stared at the screen for a long time, and for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel like maybe I had gone too far. Instead, I felt tired. Tired of being blamed for things I didn't cause. Tired of being painted as the villain for protecting my little brother. Adam wandered into the room while I was still holding the phone. He sat next to me, leaned against my shoulder, and said quietly, at least we're not hungry anymore. That one sentence cut through everything. The threats, the guilt, the manipulations. It reminded me why I did this in the first place. And in that moment, I realized something. No matter how ugly this gets, no matter how many voicemails my dad leaves, or how many guilt trips my mom sends, I made the right choice. Because for the first time in years, Adam feels safe. And that's worth every fight that's coming.
You're absolutely not the AITA here. In fact, if anyone deserves the hero label in this story, it's you. Protecting a 10-year-old from neglect, making sure he eats, and finding a safe environment. That's textbook responsibility, empathy, and courage all while being 16. Your parents? They sound like textbook narcissistic manipulators hiding behind family rhetoric, emotional guilt-tripping, theft of your food, and putting their convenience above a child's basic needs. That's on them, not you. Honestly, it's also kind of hilarious in a grim way that your dad thinks yelling voicemails and silent, creepy threats will somehow override a decade of negligence. Spoiler, it won't. Your aunt stepping in and offering guardianship? That's a game changer and confirms that you did the right thing. Short version, you didn't ruin the family. You rescued your brother from a toxic, neglectful environment. Humorously tragic side note, your parents probably think this is a you learning responsibility exercise, when really, it's them learning a new lesson how it feels when you mess with someone else's basic survival. Verdict, you are not. The AITA, your parents are the grown-ups, failing their job. You're the responsible, courageous older brother, doing what anyone should in your shoes. Keep a straight spine, Darren. Stock up on Adam's favorite cerealets. Clearly a revolutionary act in your house. Before we jump into the next story, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know your favorite part in the comment.
Story 2.
AITA for denying mom weekend time with my daughter. I'm 29 and my mom, Denise, has been asking to watch my 3-year-old daughter, Harper, every single weekend. At first, I thought it was sweet. She was excited to be a grandmother, and I knew she wanted to feel close to Harper. But over time, it's turned into something that feels less like love and more like pressure. I work full-time, and my husband, Paul, does too. The weekends are the only real time we have as a family. We like to take Harper to the park, visit friends, or even just have quiet mornings together making pancakes. Those mornings are precious. But every Friday, without fail, my mom texts me things like, "Are you bringing Harper over tomorrow?" Or she'll call and say, "Don't forget, I'm free all weekend. Drop her off anytime." The problem is, I've never actually agreed to this arrangement. She just assumed that weekends meant Harper would stay with her. And when I say no, she sighs into the phone and makes comments like, "Well, I guess I'll just be alone again." Or other grandparents get to see their grandkids all the time. It makes me feel guilty, like I'm depriving her of something. But at the same time, I don't want to give up the only days I get with my daughter. I don't want Harper to think of weekends as grandma's time instead of family time. Last week, things reached a breaking point. I told her directly, "Mom, I love that you want to see Harper, but weekends are important for us as a family. We can plan visits, but I don't want you to expect every weekend." Her face dropped like I had just insulted her. She said, "So you're keeping my granddaughter from me?" and hung up. She hasn't spoken to me since, but she's been sending Paul messages like, "Talk some sense into your wife." That alone would have been enough drama. But of course, it didn't stop there. The next day, my older sister, Lauren, called me. She said mom had been crying to her, saying I was selfish and cruel. Lauren told me I should just let mom have her time because she doesn't have much else going on. I was shocked. Lauren doesn't even live in the same city. She barely sees Harper. And now suddenly, she's weighing in on what I should or shouldn't do. I said, "Lauren, you don't even know what it's like. Mom calls me every single Friday. She expects exit. It's not just casual. But Lauren brushed me off and said I was making drama out of nothing. She even went further, saying, "You're acting like a kid yourself. Let the woman be happy. She's your mother, not an enemy." That night, Paul and I had a huge argument too. He supports me, but he hates being in the middle. He said, "I understand you want boundaries, but do you have to make it this strict? Can't we just drop Harper off once in a while to keep the peace?" I snapped back. "So your solution is to give in just so mom doesn't sulk? Where does that end, Paul? Next thing you know, she'll expect birthdays, holidays, vacations, all hers." He stayed quiet for a moment, but then said, "I just hate seeing you stressed like this. You're always worried about offending your family, but it's eating at you. The worst part, Harper is starting to notice. When mom calls and says, 'Come see grandma,' Harper will look at me and ask, 'Why not, mommy?' I don't want her to think I'm keeping her from her grandma. I just want her to know that weekends are for us, for our little family unit." I try to explain gently, "Mommy and daddy have plans, sweetie, but we'll see grandma another day." But sometimes I think Harper senses the tension in my voice. Then things got uglier. A few days later, my aunt sent me a long Facebook message. She wrote, "Your mom is devastated. Do you realize how lucky you are to have a mother who wants to spend time with your child? Many people would kill for that. And here you are, pushing her away." I just sat there, staring at my phone, feeling like the villain of the family. And it didn't stop there. My cousin even chimed in on a group chat, saying, "Family is everything. Don't be one of those moms who keeps their kid away from everyone." Now it feels like I'm fighting against not just my mom, but half my extended family. And none of them seem to care about how I feel or about my time with Harper. It's all about mom and what she wants. Last weekend, Paul and I planned a little family trip to the zoo. We didn't tell anyone. We just wanted a quiet day together. But when mom called on Saturday morning asking if Harper was coming, I told her we were busy. She asked what we were doing. I said, "Just family time." She exploded. She yelled, "You don't think I'm family? You think I'm some outsider? I raised you, and this is how you treat me." Then she hung up. By the time we got home from the zoo, there were 3 voicemails from her, all basically saying the same thing, that I was shutting her out, that I was going to make Harper forget who her grandmother is, that I was breaking her heart. Paul listened to them and said, "This is getting out of hand. She's trying to guilt you into giving in."
And he's right.
But it doesn't make it any easier, because part of me does feel guilty. Part of me thinks maybe I am being too strict. But another part of me is furious that my own mother doesn't respect my role as a parent. It turned into a full family conflict. Lauren barely talks to me. My mom is acting like I've cut her out of Harper's life entirely, when in reality, we still see her at least once a week. My aunt is passive-aggressively sending messages, and my cousin keeps making comments in person when I visit Paul's family. Isn't it time Harper spends some weekends with grandma? Even my brother-in-law started making comments like, "You're setting a precedent that could haunt Harper later," as if I'm ruining my daughter's childhood for daring to keep her with me. One afternoon, we had a family barbecue for Paul's cousin's birthday. My mom was there, lurking at the edge of the yard. Every time Harper ran to me, mom made a comment like, "You're being a little clingy, aren't you? She'll need to spend time with grandma too." Lauren rolled her eyes at me when I tried to redirect Harper's attention. People who didn't know the context thought I was being dramatic, but they didn't see the voicemails, the texts, the guilt trips. And now, every Friday feels like a war. I get a text from mom around 9 a.m., another at noon, then a call around 3 p.m. "Where is Harper? When will you bring her? Don't forget, I'm free." By evening, she's sending Paul messages again, trying to undermine me. I try to stand firm, but it's exhausting. Every decision feels like a judgment from the entire family. Every plan for the weekend is shadowed by what mom might say or how she might react. I feel like I have to tiptoe around everyone just to keep my own child safe and happy. Meanwhile, Harper's innocent happiness is my only refuge. When she laughs at a joke or hugs Paul or exclaims over a butterfly at the park, it reminds me why I fight. I fight for the weekends to be ours, for her to feel the safety of her little family, and for me to feel like a parent with some agency. And yet, each Friday night, when I silence the voicemails and block the texts for a few hours, I feel the weight of the family war pressing on my chest. I feel alone in the middle of it, trying to protect Harper while everyone else believes I'm the one at fault. So here I am, exhausted, conflicted, and trying to hold my ground. I'm asking myself constantly, am I really the bad guy? Or am I just the only one in this family willing to say no? Because all I want is time with my daughter. That's it. That's all I'm asking for.
Update.
After my post, things spiraled faster than I could have imagined. Saturday morning started quietly, or at least I thought it would. I was in the kitchen making pancakes with Harper when there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find my mom, Denise, standing there with a little rolling suitcase, bright pink, stuffed full of Harper's clothes, diapers, and snacks. She was smiling, as if she had already won before saying a word. "I'm taking Harper for the day," she said cheerfully. I packed her favorite snacks. "Don't worry, she'll have a great time." I froze. Harper looked up at me, a half-eaten pancake in her hand, wide-eyed and confused. Paul stepped in beside me, his voice calm but firm. "Denise, we didn't agree to this. We're spending today together as a family." Her smile wavered for a second, then disappeared completely. She leaned closer to me, voice low, sharp. "You're brainwashing him against me," she said, jerking a thumb toward Paul. "I know this isn't his decision. She's making him say it." I opened my mouth, but no words came out fast enough. Harper was behind me now, her small fingers clutching my leg. I could see the confusion and fear in her eyes. "What part of today is family time don't you understand?" I finally managed, my voice tight with frustration. "You cannot just show up and take her. This isn't okay." Denise's face twisted, half hurt, half anger. "I raised you better than this," she snapped. "I gave you everything, and now you're treating me like I'm a stranger." Paul and I both tried to reason with her, but it quickly turned into a shouting match right there on the porch. Neighbors were starting to peek out their windows. Harper's little voice broke through the tension. "Mommy? Grandma?" she asked softly, clearly scared. Finally, I had to say it firmly. "Mom, you need to leave. Now." She stormed off, slamming her car door hard enough that I thought it might dent. I could hear her muttering as she drove away, loud enough for anyone nearby to hear. "Ungrateful. Cold. I raised you better than this." For a moment, we all just stood there in silence. Harper clung to me, and I felt her little body trembling. Paul put his hand on my shoulder. "You did the right thing," he said softly, but I wasn't sure if I believed it. The fallout didn't stop. That evening, my phone started blowing up. First, it was my cousin, who sent me screenshots of a long, public Facebook post my mom had made. She wrote about children who are ungrateful and keep grandchildren away out of spite, though she didn't mention me by name. But it didn't matter. Everyone in the family knew exactly who she was talking about. Then the messages started pouring in from other relatives. "Why are you being so harsh? Just let her watch Harper once in a while. It's not the end of the world. Family is family. Don't make it a battle." Lauren, my sister, chimed in with a group message to Paul and me. "You guys need to see her side. Mom just wants to spend time with her granddaughter. Why are you making this so dramatic?" Paul looked at me, exasperated. "It's like the entire family is ganging up on us. I don't know how to fix this." I felt cornered. Every decision I made for Harper now felt like an act of rebellion, and everyone else seemed to think I was in the wrong. That night, the tension carried into our living room. Harper fell asleep on the couch while Paul and I argued quietly but fiercely. "Maybe we should just let her watch her sometimes," Paul said. "It might calm things down, keep the peace." I shook my head. "Do you know what that would start? Next, she's expecting birthdays, holidays, school events. She'd be in charge of everything. I can't just give in because she throws a tantrum." It wasn't just Paul. Even my aunt started messaging me directly, warning that mom was heartbroken and humiliated, and suggesting I reconsider my stance or risk ruining family bonds forever. I didn't reply. I couldn't. Every message felt like an attack wrapped in concern. The next morning, things escalated even further. Mom called my phone repeatedly, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. "I just want time with my granddaughter. I can't believe you're keeping her from me. She'll forget who I am if you keep this up." Harper began asking questions every time her tablet buzzed with another message. "Mommy, Grandma wants to see me?" she asked. I could barely answer without feeling my throat tighten. By Sunday, Paul and I were exhausted. The family group chat had exploded again. Cousins, aunts, uncles, even distant family friends chimed in, offering opinions, advice, and judgment. Every message seemed designed to make me doubt myself. Then Lauren showed up at our door unannounced. She said, "I'm just here to make sure things don't get out of hand." But the way she hovered, watching me interact with Harper, felt like an inspection. She made subtle comments like, "You know, weekends aren't just about you too," and "Mom would never do this to her kids." Harper, oblivious to the political battlefield around her, tugged at my hand. "Mommy, can we go to the park?" I felt a stab of guilt, realizing how tense our home had become, how much she could sense the underlying stress even if she didn't understand it. I sank onto the couch, feeling trapped between keeping Harper's world safe and fending off a family that seemed intent on overruling every boundary I set. And the most upsetting part? My mom didn't even need Harper to be happy. She just needed everyone else to feel guilty, everyone else to bend to her, everyone else to admit she was right. By the end of that weekend, I was emotionally drained. My phone was still buzzing with messages, Paul was frustrated, and Harper was confused. And I realized that what started as a simple boundary about weekends had turned into a full-blown family war, one I wasn't sure how to win without completely alienating the people I had grown up with. I knew one thing for certain. The line I drew wasn't just about weekends. It was about control, respect, and teaching Harper that her parents' time mattered too. But defending it was going to be messier than I could have imagined.
Update 2.
The tension didn't let up. Last weekend, Denise found a new way to manipulate Paul. She called him directly while I was at work, her voice dripping with faux sorrow and sweetness, guilt-tripping him about Harper missing her grandmother's love, and insisting that I was somehow turning family against her. She painted this image of me as the villain, the one keeping Harper from the affection she supposedly deserved, and Paul, caught off guard, hung up frustrated and confused. That evening, when I got home, we ended up in a long, exhausting argument about whether I was being too strict or overprotective. Paul tried to see it from her perspective, worried about hurting Denise's feelings, worried about the extended family judging us, while I felt cornered and unheard, frustrated that boundaries seemed to invite more chaos instead of respect. Then, during a small family barbecue, things escalated further. My extended relatives, including aunts, uncles, and even some cousins, started cornering me one by one. They whispered behind their hands, making subtle but cutting comments about me, denying Harper her grandmother, or creating unnecessary drama, all under the guise of concern. Lauren, my sister, made a point of siding with Mom publicly, laughing at small jokes that implied I was being unreasonable and giving me pointed looks that made me feel completely isolated in the middle of a crowd. I felt their judgment like a physical weight pressing down on me, every conversation an accusation, every glance a subtle reminder that I was somehow in the wrong for protecting my daughter. The worst moment, however, came when Harper, blissfully unaware of the intricate politics playing out, overheard Mom and Lauren arguing in the backyard. She ran inside, her small frame trembling, tears welling in her eyes, her voice cracking as she asked, "Why is Grandma mad at us?" My heart shattered in that instant. It wasn't just frustration or anger at my family anymore. It was a visceral, gut-wrenching realization that this had become about shielding Harper from guilt, pressure, and a complicated family war that she was too young to understand. I held her close, feeling her tiny body quiver, and my mind raced through the implications. If I let this go unchecked, she would start associating family with stress, obligation, and fear rather than love. By the end of the night, after pacing, talking, and holding Harper in turns, Paul and I finally had a long, honest conversation. We acknowledged our love for our family, the complexity of the relationships, and the long history of expectations and manipulations we had inherited. But we also understood that standing firm, no matter how uncomfortable it made the extended family, was the only way to preserve the safety, happiness, and stability of our little family unit. We vowed to each other that we would continue to protect Harper from these pressures, explaining gently when necessary, deflecting guilt when it appeared, and setting boundaries that might not be popular but were essential. We realized that the cost of acquiescing, letting everyone else dictate Harper's weekends and her sense of normalcy, was far too high, and that as much as we loved our relatives, our daughter's well-being had to come first. And though it was exhausting, emotionally draining, and often lonely, we resolved that this was a battle we would face together, holding Harper close and remembering that protecting her innocence and family time was worth every whisper, every judgment, and every eye roll from those who didn't understand our choices.
You are not the AITA. You're defending your child's routine, boundaries, and emotional safety, which is exactly what a parent is supposed to do. Your mom's love has clearly morphed into entitlement and manipulation, flooding voicemails, guilt-tripping, showing up uninvited, and dragging the extended family into it isn't affection. It's pressure. Trying to give everyone a happy compromise would actually harm Harper by making her associate family with stress instead of comfort. Your husband sees it, you see it, and most importantly, Harper's stability matters more than appeasing adults who can't respect parental authority. Humorously, your relatives are treating this like a reality show about who can guilt the most, but the real star here is you, managing the chaos while keeping your toddler calm. Verdict: you are not the AITA. Anyone criticizing you for prioritizing your daughter's time, safety, and emotional well-being is missing the point entirely. Firm boundaries aren't cruelty, they're protection. Harper's happiness and sense of security win every single time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got a story to share? Drop it in the comments and let us know which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely want to check out AITA for cutting off dad and his kid. Click here to watch it now.